What's going on, family? Let's go, let's go, let's go. Hope everybody's having a blessed and amazing Monday. You already know what time it is. It's your boy, Crazy Faith the God, in the building, getting ready to drop some quick value for you guys today. And today's topic is gonna be knowing when to be humble, right? We always want to know when to be humble, right? You know, including myself, like I sometimes have a hard time, learning when to be humble because, when you're on the journey with God, it just feels so amazing that you can be your authentic version, but you still have to remain humble. And sometimes, the confidence and the great feelings that God has given us from, like, being connected with Him, we can use that feeling and that emotions to have a drop of ego and to have a drop of ego, and it causes us, and the confidence, right? It kind of causes us to, like, get out of alignment of being humble, right? And this is just all the goodness of God, like, the peace, the joy, the fulfillment. Once we receive that, we can tend to have a little ego, right? And we got to remember, when that happens, we got to humble ourselves, right? Because remember, the kingdom of God is so much to gain, and we got to be able to learn how to channel that. We got to learn how to understand, like, to be humble about every situation, because at the end of the day, you need to be humble for God to exalt you, and also to keep in that good vibration, right? How many of us has put in the work, right? And then we put in so much work to the point where we lose it all because we have an ego, right? We don't know when to be humble, right? There's a time and place for everything, and it's not okay to have an ego, right? It's not okay, because essentially what you're saying is you're edging God out, that you don't need Him, right? Edging God out, that you don't need Him, when essentially God has blessed you with the peace, the joy, the confidence, the love, the abundance, right? He has done all of this for you, right? And sometimes I know the feeling can feel so amazing that we tend to drive with an ego. We tend to, edge God out and just not lead in humility. And what that does is it causes you to fall, right? Remember, pride comes before the fall, right? Pride comes before the fall. And we got to be super mindful of that, because if we're not mindful of what pride does to us, we fall and we keep going backwards and backwards and backwards, right? How many of us are tired of going backwards? How many of us keep stagnating, going from the natural to from the natural, right? From the natural to the spirit, from the natural realm to the spirit. How many of us have done that, right? Pick a side. Either you're in the natural or you're in the spirit, right? God is always in the spirit, and there's so much life that's in the spirit separated from the natural. But you have to pick a side. You can't go from natural to spirit, from natural to spirit, because you're slowing down your growth, right? And it's going to be hard for God to bless you, because if He can't trust you, how is He going to bless you, right? So we got to be super mindful of that, right? And it also relies on your integrity, to stand firm in your faith, and to stand firm with the spirit, because the spirit is going to actually take you to the promised land. The spirit is going to actually push you further to where you need to go. People are not going to do that. You have to let go of people, right? Because people are not going to bring you and give you the blessings that God has for you. No, there is not. It's gonna have to be a sacrifice. You're gonna have to let go of certain people that you have around you, right? And if you're dealing with lust and the flesh and all this material and all of this things that don't matter, right? And you're not sacrificing your life to God, it's gonna be hard for you to get the life that you want, right? You have to let go of distractions. You have to let go of all of these things that are not adding value, right? If it's not adding value, pushing you towards God, it's a distraction. It's hindering you from going from where you need to go, right? And we got to be mindful of that. We got to know when to be humble, right? We got to be super mindful of when to be humble, because remember, God is always watching you. And if you're not humble, He will humble you for you, If you're not humble, God will humble you. And this is something that I had to learn too. I remember when I didn't see the signs of God telling me it's time to be humble, and I kind of just like, no, it's whatever. I wasn't aware of it at the moment, but now I'm a little bit more aware of it, and I could be able to make the adjustment. But when I wasn't aware of it, I remember I used to learn the hard way. Like he would have to humble me, do something crazy, right, for to get my attention to know this is not how we do things. And now I'm able to understand when God needs me to be humble, and I catch the signs like right off the rip. I'm able to like, oh, okay, boom, pivot, right? Turn, right? And just to be humble myself. Because when you're in the kingdom, it's so much life. When you're walking with God, there's so much life. And sometimes all of that emotions, all of that good feelings could lead to you edging God out. But all reality, He gave you all of these feelings to feel, but you have to be humble about it. It's okay to feel the feelings, but you got to be humble about it, because that's how it is to walk in the kingdom. You got to be super humble to walk in the kingdom. If you're not humble, you can't get exalted. The moment you're humble, He takes you higher, right? And all of these things we have to learn, we have to understand, we have to transform, we have to think bigger, right, in order to receive more blessings, right? And the moment you stay with God, and you being obedient, He releases more to you. Here you go, boom, 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 right? He releases all of these blessings and more insight of what's to come. I feel like once you walk with Him and you stay steady in your faith, He releases more that's already in your spirit. He releases more that's already in your spirit, and once you keep walking, he starts to bring things to life. But you got to stay patient, you got to stay humble, and you got to give Him time to be able to trust you. You got to give Him time for Him to be able to trust you, right? And what is it now that you're doing that God is not trusting you in order to receive the blessing? What is it now that you're doing that you cannot be trusted by God? What is it? Right? We all gotta have ask ourselves that question, right? And as we ask ourselves that question, we get more closer to God, right? Once we fix that problem and we ask that question, we get more closer to God, right? But if we're not looking to strive to become better, to understand what it is that's separating us from God, and the little steps that's taking us backwards, if we can't eliminate those things, how are we going to ever get closer and to see the growth and transformation that we want? This is big keys right here, you know? And a lot of what you're looking for, the answers that you're looking for, is only going to come if you're humble, right? If you're humble and if you're walking with God, right? If you're not walking with God, how are you going to get to your destination, right? You know what's funny? People will try to pull you away from God when you need God to enter the promised land, when you need God to get to your dreams and goals. So, why would you let people pull you away from God if God is the one that knows the way, right? So, if people are trying to pull you away from God, you got to let those people go, right? Because they're not adding value, they're not bringing you closer to God, right? And most importantly, right, we have to stay humble. All right. So I just want to leave you guys with this, right? I'm gonna leave you guys with this. If you guys don't start humbling yourselves, right, and being who God called you to be in a humble, respectful way, how are you ever gonna get exalted and for Him to give you more of the blessings and to develop you, right? Without that humility, without Him trusting you, He's not gonna pour out more blessings to you. It's gonna be hard for Him to pour out more blessings because He can't trust you. Would you give someone a blessing that you can't trust? Would you give someone the keys to the kingdom that you can't trust? No, right? So you gotta reveal, you got to show him your integrity. You got to show him who you really are, right? We can't just talk about it, right? We got to have the actions. Actions speak louder than words, right? When we show the actions and we show him who we really are, he's well pleased with that. And remember, you can't please people, you can only please God, right? And don't take that too lightly. Remember that, right? So I want to pray over you guys right now, and I ask that God could show you the enlightenment to more how to be humble, more to walk in integrity and walk in the God-given gifts and the dreams that He placed in you. I ask that you could walk with God, could you could walk with God, and He can show you more of the vision, right? And you can stay faithful to the process, to the sacrifice that you're making on a day-to-day basis. I ask that God gives you strength, the endurance to keep walking in that steady, firm faith that's actually going to get you to your promised land, right? That's actually going to get you to your promised land, because without the faith, without the integrity, without keeping your word and showing God who you truly are, it's going to be hard for you to get to your dreams and goals into the promised land, right? So with that being said, it's your boy Crazy Faith, the God in the building. I hope everybody have a blessed and amazing day. Let's become 1% better. Let's step out in greatness, because you are great. It's nothing but love. In Jesus' name, let's go.